we're putting a spotlight on building product space. And to give us a view, or the street view, joining us in the studio here is Mr. T.S. Harihar, founder and Chief Executive Officer at HRBV Solutions. Mr. Harihar, good morning and thanks for joining us. You know, I know that the building product space itself is very large, and it has subsectors like sanitary ware, you know, plywoods, and many others other than pipes. Let me begin with areas in which you still see value. Of course, we've seen a little bit of a correction, but areas in which you see value right now when it comes to the building product space.
See, broadly, if you look at it, there are 4 classifications of the building. There is a cement, you know, which is the most basic form of building products. Then you have the sanitary ware, you know, which all those, you know, your fittings, bathroom fittings, etc. The third, of course, is the plywoods, the veneers, which is not actually a very large industry if you look at it from a traded point of view. The fourth is an industry that has just about come, you know, which is what I call the retailing, which is the Shankara building products and others, which are actually into the what I call the convergence of building materials and retail. That's the fourth segment that we're talking about. See, among these 4 segments, if you ask me, I would believe that retailing would probably be one of the segments that shows a lot of promise. Number one, it's an undercrowded market. Probably Shankara is the only organized player, and there are a lot of unorganized players. So it's a segment where I think there is a huge re-rating that is possible. Sanitary ware is another area where I think the unorganized sector is gradually getting compressed because of the GST and the demonetization. So I think that is the other areas looking good. Cement, I think we have to be a little more cautious. You know, on the veneer and the wood side, we're not very positive on that. On cement, I think we have to be a little more stock specific and selective. But I think broadly it's building product retailing followed by sanitary ware. That would be our preference.
I take it that you're positive on Shankara building products. Is that the case? And I also wanted to understand what are your other topics in this space, the best way to play this housing demand.
Shankara, definitely you're right. No, we like the stock a lot, although we had some concerns about the rally that it showed in the last 1.5 years since its listing. I think it really showed a frenetic rally, and the valuations did become a little steep. But as a company, we do like it. But if I was to really pick my top picks, I would say Cera Sanitary, where in the sanitary space is one stock we like a lot. I think extremely good financials, valuations are still reasonable, growth is extremely robust. So we like Cera Sanitary ware quite a bit. In the cement space, you know, we are a little more positive on Ultratech as compared to the other cement companies. Apart from being the largest player, we believe that if the Binani cement deal goes through, then we have a company which finally gets an exposure to Rajasthan and therefore a gateway into North India. Okay. And number 2, they are getting a cement plant at about $102 to $103 per ton, which is probably at par with what they got JP. And if you add the fact that they're also getting the limestone deposits, 7,266 crores actually looks to be fairly reasonable. So if they get that, I think it will be a big boost for Ultratech. So we are betting on Ultratech getting Binani cements, and that would be a big boost for the company.
Okay, and are there, you know, stocks or areas in this particular sector which you think you'd like to avoid right now? It could be on the back of bad fundamentals or valuations.
See, we believe that overall cement valuations, I won't say they're stretched, but they're definitely rich. That applies to almost all the cement companies, be it Shree, Ultratech, ACC or Ambuja. We were actually betting on the Ambuja, you know, ACC formal merger to happen soon, but I think the way we have got the statements from both the companies, it's put off at least for now. And they have actually not given any clarity when there is going to be the next round of discussion. So that is something we find negative. So we were actually neutral on those companies, but after the announcement, we are actually negative on both these companies. That is Gujarat Ambuja and ACC.
Okay. All right. Well, that said, you know, I would also want to address about the way you expect okay, so I do want to address one subsector, and that is the plywood sector. A lot of this has an exposure to crude and input costs, which have been on the rise. And it's not just plywood, actually, it's a lot of the other sectors as well, which have seen a little bit of a rise in input costs. Would you be concerned? And in that case, would you expect a little more consolidation before you start seeing a substantial up move on these stocks?
See, the 2 sectors specifically, one is the veneers and the other is the paints. You know, both of them are fairly vulnerable to crude prices. But let's also understand that over the last 4 years, you know, crude has started from about $120. It went down to about $30, $35, and now it's about $70. So while it's 100% above the lows. I think it's still about, I think 60-70% below what we had about 3.5-4 years back. So from that perspective, I would believe that the concern for paints and veneers is not too high. Yes, I'm told by a lot of these companies that 55 to 60 is a range they would be a lot more comfortable in. But I don't think 70 is something that would make a big difference to their profitability. So I would still look at these companies as, consumer companies with a good consumer demand, a play on the India retail demand story, rather than worry about the crude prices too much.
Okay, Mr. Harihar, I don't know if you do track something like an Astral Poly or Phenol-X. The reason why I'm bringing it up because we've had some other brokerage reports which have, pushed these stocks. Do you have a view of any of these?
No, we don't track those subsegments.
None of them?
We don't.
All right. Well, Mr. Harihar...
I just wanted a thought on the plywood space as well. Greenply versus Century. I don't know if you track either of the two.
We do.
Greenply, of course, recently just said that they're considering divesting their MDF division. So between the two companies, any thoughts?
Century is something we're always positive on. I think both in terms of growth traction, in terms of the spread across markets, we have liked Century plyboards a lot compared to the others. The green laminates is what I think you had mentioned. So Century has been one of our favorites in the space.
All right, well, there you have it. That's the graph showing you the returns of Century Ply and Greenply. Well, both, of course, done well in the last 6 months, but Century Ply has done has outperformed Greenply by some margin. But with that, Mr. Harihar, thanks for joining us and giving us an outlook on the sector.